saying yes to everything. And when you start doing that, you really dilute the potency of your service and the integrity of it.
Welcome to Biz Stories Shared, where storytellers share their inspiration, motivation, some disappointments, and how they applied the lessons that led them to success. Stories are gifts. Listen as these gifts are shared. Now, here is your host, Charlotte Plott.
Hello, storytellers. This is Charlotte Plott, and I am thrilled to bring you our guest today, Jessica Riverson. Jessica, are you ready to be a storyteller?
Yes, I am.
Great. I'm anxious to hear your stories. Jessica Riverson is the CEO and founder of the international coaching and training company, Permission to Charge, where she teaches coaches, consultants, and experts how to own their worth and properly price and package their expertise into a premium program that actually sells. She is best known for her popular Instant Pay Raise program, where entrepreneurs finally give themselves a raise by doubling and tripling their income through creating and selling their own high-end signature program. She is co-author of an Amazon #1 bestseller, The Power of Being a Woman, and the author of the forthcoming book, Permission to Charge: How to Own Your Worth, Package Your Expertise, and Sell with Soul. And a few fun facts. She's been working from home her entire adult life, since age 19 when she started as a single mom. Today she is married and lives in the Seattle area and is the proud mama of a teenager and a toddler. Well, Jessica, I've given our listeners just a little summary about you, so will you take a minute and tell us some more about you personally, because we want to get to know you better, and then give us an overview of your business.
Oh, sure. I'd love to. Okay. With this question, I'm always wondering, okay, how far back do I go and how many details do I give? So feel free to jump in. But, my story started really at, age 18, single mom, college dropout, and having that moment of, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And my mom said something to me when my son was just a few weeks old. She said, "You're going to have to put him in daycare."
Oh.
And that statement scared me enough
Mm-hmm.
that I started looking at what I could do. And she said, there's this work at home job that you learn. Well, a few weeks later, my son was only 5 weeks old. I showed up at a vocational college, night school, and I showed up for class to learn a trade that I literally didn't know what it was. I knew that it had to do with the medical field, and I knew it had to do with typing. And so you might be able to guess what it is, but I showed up to class. I think I even had my baby with me because I was nursing, and he was quiet enough. And I learned that I was going to be studying to be a medical transcriptionist, which is,
Hmm.
for some people, is probably the best job in the world. For me, it turned out to be one of the most boring things on the planet, but it allowed me to work from home. And so when I started working from home a year later, at age 19, I had graduated after a year-long program. I was blessed to get a job just right away. I got a work at home job. I moved out away from Seattle to a small town, and I had my work at home job, and I was able to be with my son a lot. Felt like I was working all the time too, but that's how it goes, right? So I was working and also able to be there with my son most of the time. And I got that entrepreneurial bug because I was paid on production. So as much
Oh.
as I could type and as accurately and fast I could type, the more I could make. And ended up buying a home, and just really taking the making money piece into my own hands. And that really led me, although I wasn't technically a business owner at that point, I was an independent contractor. So that was kind of like my first step.
Okay.
And so shortly after that, at age 23, I decided I got to get out of this small town if I'm ever going to create any kind of new career that's more interesting to me. And if I'm ever going to meet a man, I probably need to get out of this town of 8,000 people. So I went back to Seattle area, close to my family again, who's always been really supportive. And I sold my house and I took that chunk of money and I purchased a franchise. I was 25 years old.
Oh my.
And again, didn't have a clue what I was doing, but I figured, okay, I can go back to school and that will take me 4 years to get a job. And I still won't really get to see my son. And, what am I going to do in the meantime? I don't really want to do this medical transcription for 4 more years. So it just, as much as I wanted to finish my degree, it just didn't seem like the best thing. And so I started researching franchises. And so I finally found a franchise I wanted to buy. I bought it. I used the money from the house, and my son and I moved into a tiny apartment, shared, one bedroom, and I just put my whole heart and soul into this franchise. And I figured if I could buy a franchise, then I could learn to run a business as I was running the business versus go to school or college for 4 years and then go get a job or then do a business. So I figured I would learn by doing.
Oh, that's
So
amazing.
yeah, looking back, I'm like, wow, was I brave? I don't know if I'm still that brave. I think maybe yeah, I am. I
Yes,
am.
I think you are.
I definitely am because of the fact that I, started over with child rearing when I was almost done. So yeah, I started that business and I always thought that that would be my stepping stone to creating my own business and my own brand. And flash forward, it's been 11 years since I've had the franchise. I still own it. My husband is the manager of that, and I spend my days really focused 100% on my coaching business, which I officially started about 4 years ago. But coaching has been it was, let me say it this way, it was my expensive hobby for about 10 years. So while I was working and then building that franchise from 20 to about 30, I was coaching. I was working with an organization, a personal development company. I was being coached. I was coaching others. I was leading trainings. I was doing everything coaching. But because it was through this other organization, it wasn't like a paid position, although
Oh,
I had my own clients per se, but my payment was really advanced trainings and getting to hang out with, guru type
oh,
coaches.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was something I was passionate about. When I was in college, I was studying psychology, and then I studied a little bit of hypnotherapy, and then I found coaching. So I had, it was something kind of interesting about me besides the fact of working from home my entire adult life is I can also say I've had a coach. I've been paying for coaching, investing, I should say, investing in coaching my entire adult life too. So I've pretty much always had a coach, and I'm 36 now. So, that's 16 years of investing in coaches and getting coached. And so well, I gotta say, about 7 years ago, almost 8 years ago, I decided I wanted to have a coaching business. But I did what a lot of people do is I had a faux launch period, which lasted 2 to 3 years. And
Okay.
the faux launch period was, building a website and then deciding it wasn't good enough and then building another one and, spending months and weeks and, hours upon hours figuring out a logo and all the non-money making things, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So finally, about 4 years ago, I got my second business license. I got my first paying clients, and I was officially a coach making money.
Oh my goodness. Good for you.
Yes. So that's kind of, what led me, up to here. But when I started the coaching business, my company was called the Soulful Solopreneur,
Okay.
which is still the legal name of our company, but that was my brand. And people thought it was nice and they thought my website was pretty and all that stuff, but it was a tongue twister and they couldn't say it. And I wasn't getting referrals, and people didn't necessarily know the problem that I solved.
Okay.
And so the first 2 years of building a coaching business, I wasn't doing very well. But guess what? The second year, I doubled my income. But
Really?
guess what?
What?
When you take 7,000 and you double it, it's only about 15,000. you know,
But that's still good.
of course, doubling is always good, but you can imagine my frustration because here I was coming from a leveraged business. I didn't tell you what the franchise was. It's a tutoring franchise. So we hire tutors and they work with students in the Seattle area. And I don't do the actual service, I manage it, right?
I
So
see.
I had this, successful business that was leveraged. And then I got into coaching and found myself on the phone all the time, right? Because as a coach, you're on the phone all the time.
Right.
And I found that I was barely making any money. And even doubling my business the second year, it just was not okay.
Right.
It was like really devastating. And so something that happened to me or that I experienced building the first business, which is the tutoring franchise, is that people would call me and one of the first things out of their mouth was, "What do you charge?"
Sure.
And my throat would close up. I could barely speak. And, I was 25 years old. I just, I barely knew what I was doing. I was hiring really good people,
Right.
but I was still just deathly afraid of this question. And I felt like I definitely must not be good enough. And, I really was just really nervous about what we were charging. And so I started to work through some of that. I had a coach, of course, and I had this big aha moment because my coach really busted me on this. And she said, well, why do you feel that way? Why do you feel like, you're charging too much or that you're doing something wrong? I felt like I was, sometimes people would get upset with me. How come you're charging that much per hour? Da da da. And it really hit me finally that because I was a single mom at that time and I had a certain income and I wasn't making very much money, I couldn't really hire private coaching for my child. I thought it was expensive. And so I was projecting my own money story, my own money mindset, my own situation onto all of my prospective
How
clients.
interesting.
Right. And so I was giving them discounts and I'll waive the registration fee and I'll do all
Mhm.
these funny things just to get a client. And the more I did that, the more I started to count up the dollars I was leaving on the table, not just from the initial transaction, but how that affected my business as a whole, because clients would stay month after month after month. And if you start undercharging from the beginning,
Right.
that's a problem. If
Mm-hmm.
you start giving discounts and doing all these special things, if they say, "Can you stand on one foot and pat your head and rub your belly at the same
Right.
time?" I'm like, "Sure, I can do that."
Yeah. Yeah. Watch
Whatever
me.
you want,
Yeah.
right? So you start, acquiescing to all these different weird circumstances, can you tutor 10 kids, like
Oh,
at a time at the library at 10 a.m. on a Saturday? Like, it's like saying yes to everything. And when you
sure.
start doing that, you really dilute the potency of your service and the integrity of it. And so when I started the coaching business, I thought I had already worked through that stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, I worked through that stuff. But it's kind of like, you see those pictures of the iceberg. People post them on Facebook all the time. There, you see the tip of the iceberg, but then underneath in the water, you see the huge
Yes.
iceberg.
Yes.
So I had really only touched the tip of it. I thought I had really been working through my mindset stuff, and in reality, I had this whole big wave of money mindset stuff that came up when I started to sell or offer the coaching services, because now I wasn't promoting my tutors and this great tutoring service. Now it was me. Now it was
Right.
me saying, I'm offering you my coaching services. It's me. And a lot
Yes.
of women and men as well who were very successful in corporate but now start their own business, they experience that because they may have been a great salesperson in the corporate world, made six figures, and they go to start kind of a solopreneur, maybe a coaching, consulting, some kind of business like that. And a lot of times they really struggle because now they're selling themselves.
Right.
And it's like completely different.
it is completely different. And didn't you say you took psychology?
I did. I took just, the basic classes.
Do you have any answer to why we do that?
I think it's a very personal thing. It all of our own self-worth stuff comes up when
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to build a business. And so I think that's a huge part of it. I think even for women, sometimes it can be even more of a challenge, or any kind of heart-centered type of anyone who's a helpingpreneur, right? Your business
Yes.
is to help other people. It can really be a challenge because a lot of times we feel like, well, if I'm doing a business that's based on my purpose and I'm here to help, then really should I be charging people a lot of money for that?
Yeah.
And, what I came to learn was that the one-on-one coaching and doing it as a business or any kind of consulting or one-on-one work, even if it's healing, massage, whatever, there's an energy exchange there, and it's a pretty big one. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's also not a leveraged business model, right? If you are doing a one-to-one service, it's not a leveraged business model at all.
Right.
So you absolutely better be charging your worth, and you better be charging, in my opinion, this is my philosophy, you better be charging premium prices, because it's very, very hard to get to just six figures, which is what most people, when they start a business, if you ask them how much do you want to make, they're all going to say six
Six
figures.
figures,
That's
that's
always
it.
like year one, six figures, right?
Right.
So to even just get there, if on a one-to-one service-based business, you have to be charging really, really well. Otherwise, you're trying to like sell to many people, and then it's a different. You need a more leveraged. You need a way to leverage your time, and there's ways to do that. But initially, if you're offering your one-on-one time in exchange for money, you really have to put that bar high for yourself and for your clients, and set yourself up so that you can actually make the money. So I remember I was sitting with a coach, and she said, well, how much do you charge? And this was like in my year one or year two. And
Okay.
I told her, and then she did a quick mental calculation. She said, oh, you're only going to need 187 clients to make six figures, or some big number like that. And I remember my jaw dropping and just thinking, there is no way that I'm going to be working not privately, with that many people. It's just not
Right.
possible.
No.
Can't even keep track of that many people, and be a good coach. Now, it's different if it's like a group program or something like that, but this is one-on-one coaching. So just to kind of bring this story, back around, in year three, right? So year one is like 7,000. Year two, ooh, I doubled my income, 15,000, right? And then I know I'm doing my math wrong there, but I went from around 7 and then around to 15. And so then the third year, I finally hit that six figures in sales. So that was my revenue.
Did you
Um,
really?
yeah, and here's why. Because I finally figured out these three keys, and they're on my website, and I talk about them all the time. I finally figured out these three keys that I really believe if you master these three things, then you're golden, right? You're doing it, right? So the first one is to own your worth. I mean, that's obvious, right? We got to own our
Right.
worth. We need to not not to mention get rid of all our own money stuff. Like that's one piece of it. Or your own personal growth work on your wealth consciousness. Remember, I was someone who, although I grew up in a middle class family, I'm not going to say I was on welfare or whatever. Like that wasn't the case.
Right.
Middle class family. I live in Microsoft land, so people
Mm-hmm.
I went to school with, their parents, had really great jobs. One of my friends' dad owned, was like coached a basketball team. Like there was wealth around.
Right.
And here
Right.
we were like middle class family, two CPAs, right? Both my parents are CPAs. So, nothing extravagant or anything like that. But I saw what was possible. We weren't like living it up like some people were, but I had everything I needed. Everything was great. My mom was a single mom, so I kind of saw the lower class kind of like there was hard times, and then
Right.
when she met my dad, it was like middle class and everything like that. So I got to see the different perspective, but definitely never wanted for anything. But I was still coming from that mindset of, I think, your mindset is passed down. So I'm a fourth generation single mom. So we're talking about belief systems being passed down from, mom to mom to mom to
Sure.
mom. And growing up with two CPAs and their thoughts on money. My dad's like, I mean, my parents are, very, very successful and really good with money, but the mentality is, like, don't spend, don't buy too many expensive things. So there was like this whole money story that I had that was like, you can be, a millionaire, but don't spend any money. So it's kind of hard, right? Because you got to invest in yourself. And so it's interesting how I came out like this total entrepreneur. But I was coming from a place of like single mom, 18, dropped out of college. I had a whole, belief system about how bad and wrong I was for that. And so when I was trying to grow this business, I really had a lot of obstacles. So that's really step one, is you have to overcome your money mindset. And then you have to take it a step further and really get a good solid understanding of what your value is in the marketplace. So it's like, you got to deal with yourself first. Then you got to really
Then
be
go to the
a business
market.
person. Yeah, put your business hat on and understand how you're helping your clients, what your service is really, worth to them. And then the second step is to package up your expertise into, I work with a lot of coaches and consultants. So I always talk about, putting that into a program, a results oriented program that you can sell for $3,000 to $5,000, so that now you're not just selling your time, you're actually selling the result that you provide. Now it takes you time, right, to help them get that result. But instead of trying to sell dollars for hours, you're saying,
Right.
here's a program that you can step into to get X result. And it doesn't matter if it's a program to help a couple adopt a child, or if it's a weight loss program, or if it's like in our other company, an SAT prep
Oh,
program,
sure.
or if it's doesn't have to be coaching. It could be all kinds of different programs. And then that third step is I say sell with soul. So everyone wants to sell with authenticity, right? Like nobody wants to be the salesy, yucky person. So
Right.
mastering the art of sales, really getting to a place where you love to talk to someone who's interested in your services, where it's fun for you, because it really can be, right? So once you master those three areas, that's when everything changes. And for me, that's when everything changed. Number one, I rebranded to permission to charge, because I recognized that was my hook. I had that problem, and once I started solving that for myself, I looked around and got, oh my God, so many people have this
So, oh,
problem.
apps, everybody.
Yeah, I've worked with $1 million business owners who they worked with me and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm not charging enough." So it's equal opportunity. Like it's not a problem that just people that make less than six figures have. People that make six figures, make 1 million, they still can be undercharging. They can still be undervaluing. So I really haven't met anyone that's not, on some level, they're not maximizing their potential. And it's not something where like you've reached the holy grail today. Now, I'm finally charging my worth. Like as you develop in your business, you continue, as you develop your authority profile and you
Sure.
become the well-known expert, you're allowed to
Keep
keep charging
raising.
more and more. And so
Right.
you start valuing your expertise more and more. And that's really what happened for me. Is I rebranded. I finally had a messaging that people understood the problem that I solve, and I started honing in on my signature program, which is, to solve that problem for
Right.
people. And I started mastering sales so that I could actually, enroll most of the people that I talk to.
One thing that I want to go back to a little bit was the fact that through all of these years, you had a coach. And I think that that's incredible because a lot of people don't think that they are making enough money to have a coach, but you need the coach to get to making more money. So, how come you were so smart at that?
I don't know. I always joke like, I had a lot of money stuff that I was working through because when I got to 30 years old, I had no savings. I mean, I really had to make some changes in my, saving habits, and my emotional relationship with money really had to change. And when I was like 29, 30 years old, I sat down one day and I added up what I invested on coaching and, programs. And at that point from 20 to 30, it was about 70 grand. So I was like, well,
Oh, my.
there's my college education,
Right.
and I mean, last year alone, I spent over 30 grand on mentors. I am the kind of person who, literally will do anything to reach my goal.
Right.
And so, especially when it comes to my business, because I care that much about it. I care that much about my own success. I care that much about my clients succeeding.
Right.
And so, there's things I'll sacrifice. I will rather make sure that I am, hanging out with $1 million mentor and I'm getting access to that person versus maybe taking as many vacations, because every year my income goes up because of me doing that. And so I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I've used a credit card before. I've sold something before. Like, I've borrowed money before. I mean, I've done every option you can think of that's, like a good option, anything reasonable I've done. I haven't worked with the same person all this time, right? I've had kind of different seasons and different mentors, and I just think it's really, really that important. It's life changing. And one of my biggest regrets was in that third year that I didn't stick with my coach at that time, who's fabulous, and I credit so much to her. And I've gone on and done other things, but there was a period of time where I didn't reinvest, and then there was like all this time that went by, and I go, I should have just stuck with her, because I wouldn't have lost that time,
Oh,
that where because you get stuck in your own head.
right.
You get stuck in your own limiting beliefs, and when something's not quite working, the results that I got from working with that coach came months later because I continued to implement what I learned. But I can only imagine if I had not kind of taken that I think it was between 6 to 8 months where I was just kind of floundering on my own, and I made big strides and I made a lot more money and everything was great. But it's only better when you have someone kicking your butt and holding you accountable and just doing those little tweaks to your business to take it to the next level. I think it's just that important.
Yes. Well, it is important. And what it seems to me is that the clients that you have more trust in you because you've been willing to invest in yourself. And so that shows them that the importance of it because you believe in it and the success that you've had because of that.
Absolutely. I wouldn't ask them to do something that I haven't done.
Right.
Thank you for saying that, though. I mean, I hope that I'm an example of that, of someone that's, willing to do whatever it takes, literally. All of this goes back to just being someone that had a dream. I mean, I used to see coaches that were making the six figures plus, and I would see what they were charging, and I think, oh gosh, I wish I could be that caliber of a coach. I wish I could be making really great money as a coach. I wish I could achieve those things and have that lifestyle. And it was just a dream. I mean, I literally was at zero. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, everyone starts at zero, right?
Right.
But I mean, I was no different than everyone I talked to every single day. It's just that I wasn't willing to give up. I wasn't willing to stop. I mean, a lot of times I look back and go, well, I had no business doing a lot of the things that I did. I had no business buying that franchise. I mean, I was their youngest franchise owner they had ever had. I had no business really saying, okay, I'm going to be a business coach, other than already having a successful business. I mean,
Right.
I had that foundation, but I mean, it's not like I felt like, oh, I don't have a business degree. Can I really be a business coach? But I've honed in on something I'm really good at in terms of business. I don't claim to be the business guru of all business, of all
Right.
time,
Right.
but I do claim the area that I've really honed in on, which is this charge your worth issue, this having the ability to charge top dollar for what you do, and getting yourself to that point. And I've had the privilege to work with people in all different industries, even like lawyers and doctors, and it's just amazing, that we have this challenge, but it's something that we can change.
We can change, and so thank you for being out there teaching us how to make those changes. That's
You're
great.
welcome.
Well, Jessica, here at Biz Stories Shared, we start every show with our guest's favorite quote. So, what's your favorite quote, and how do you apply this to your everyday thinking?
Okay, well, I have been a fan of the late Wayne Dyer since I read his book, Your Erroneous Zones, when I
Mm-hmm.
was about 13 or 14. Shows you what kind of kid I was. And so he has a quote that says, we attract what we are. So I think that that is very, very important. The way I apply it in my business, and I'm not going to say that it's easy, but I think even just being aware of that quote,
Right.
sometimes reading it every day and then reflecting on how am I showing up? Who am I being?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I want to, okay, I'll give a real example. I want to be $1 million business owner, and that's what
Right.
I'm working on this year. And so, who am I being? If I don't believe that that's possible for me, and I got to tell you, it's taken me this long, 4 or 5 years, actually many years in the making, but especially the last 4 or 5 years, to get to where that's a believable statement to me.
Good.
You
Oh,
know,
that's great.
I would even say last year that wasn't a believable statement to me. So, I might say, oh, okay, maybe I could do 200,000 or something, but so if you don't believe that, if you can be saying that you want all these things and you can be taking the actions, but if you're at your core, you're actually being something else or something lesser than that, then it's not going to happen. So, that's something that I think it's such a great quote. And if our mindset is poor, I'm broke, I can't afford, then
That's so
hey, we're going to
true.
get a bunch of clients that say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I feel like I have literally bootstrapped myself and my mindset over the past, years. I've just wanted it that bad. I've just seen the vision of myself, and it kind of makes me want to cry because it's like I've that's one gift that I can honestly say I've given to myself, because most of my life has been a real struggle with self-esteem, and that's a whole other podcast of all the ways I was self-sabotaging and all that kind of stuff. But serious self-esteem, self-worth stuff, and the way that it showed up was in a lot of serious detrimental ways. And so I've had to just, like, I almost want to say fight against that, but now I don't choose to fight it. I choose to, like, move through
Move
that,
through it, right.
because then whenever you're fighting, then you're resisting something. But to really just examine it and continue to move through that. But yeah, I love that quote. We are what we attract what we are.
I like that quote too, and thank you for describing it, how it affects you. And I think that it's really powerful how you have bootstrapped yourself up to where you're believing and knowing and believing that you're going to have a 6 or a 7.
I'm going for 7 figures. So it's interesting because, like, if someone says 1 billion, I'm like, oh, not there yet. I can't even imagine it yet. But it's like, so, and this is again the importance of mentors,
Yes,
right? The reason I can imagine it is because I'm hanging out with people that are making multi-millions.
right.
I'm not hanging out with any billionaires right now, but maybe that'll be my next step.
Maybe
When I'm
it
making
will.
multi-millions, then I'll start hanging out with billionaires and seeing how I can, what is that vibration and what is that energy? What is that mindset, right? Right now I'm just going from the multiple six-figure to the million. And that's why we need to surround ourselves with people that are doing what we want to do.
You're a very smart young lady. I can tell that because it is who we hang around with. Is you become the 5 people that,
That you hang around with the
yeah,
most.
that's not exactly it, but that's what it
Yeah.
means.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that one too. That one's such a mind shifter too.
Hmm. Thank you for sharing all of that because we know that when taking action, it doesn't really make any difference if you fail. What matters is that you have the courage to take the action and proceed with your goals, and you certainly have done that. So, would you tell us of one of the times that you haven't talked about before where Maybe you've had just a whisper of discontent in striving for your goal?
I've definitely had more than a whisper of discontent. That's probably putting it mildly. Oh gosh, let me count the ways. So a time of discontent. Gosh, I feel like it's in so many ways it feels like it's been an uphill battle because like I said, the mindset piece is the uphill battle piece. Yes, absolutely. I have a great story. So this is something I teach about a lot, and it really pertains to coaches, consultants, and like one-on-one service-based businesses.
Okay.
And so, especially those who are building their business online, right? So when I started coaching, I saw all these other entrepreneurs, online entrepreneurs, who were marketing their expertise online as some kind of digital product or a group program or a home study, those kind of things. And I thought, oh, because I started studying internet marketing back in 2008, so I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna like, make $100,000 in a month because I'm gonna enroll all these people in this group program for $497. And so when I launched my first group program, I had 5 people in it.
Good.
And it took me a long time to get those 5 people. Most of them I met offline.
Oh.
And so by the time I got those 5 people enrolled and delivered this 6-week program and, even did a private session with every single one, by the time I did all of that, I was almost like, I wasn't positive $2,500. I was like way in the negative. And so
Oh.
that's why I do what I do today, which is teaching about high-end private one-on-one, coaching, consulting. Like I said, you could be a massage therapist or a psychotherapist or any kind of one-on-one service, but I really teach about selling the high end more in a program versus like an hourly because um, doing group online programs is awesome, but you have to have internet marketing savvy, you have to have an
Mhm.
email list, you have to have joint venture partners.
Mhm.
And so that was one of my biggest ahas is I was trying to do what what I saw everyone else doing when I hadn't mastered stage 1 of a coaching business, which is to be filled up with private high paying clients so that you're making between five or $10,000 very consistently every single month. And once you're there, then you can build your list and start some of the internet marketing things, and you actually have cash flow to do that.
I see.
But
Mhm.
what I was trying to do is I saw the big, the gurus, and I was like, oh, they're doing that, so I'm going to do that. And that's the problem when you don't have a mentor and you're just modeling what other people, even if you're in a group program and the person says, do this, but it's not the right stage for where you're at in your business, you could spend a lot of time and a lot of money trying to do something that you don't it's just not the right stage in your business, or you just don't have the skills to do it. Maybe you don't have the right mentor. It's not to say that you can't start there, but I really believe that it's important you start where it makes sense for your stage of business, and you don't try to do something that's more like stage 4
Right.
because you saw someone else doing it. So that was also the reason of how I went from that 15,000 to the 6 figures in sales from one year to the next, was because I said, okay, screw this. I'm going to put my group programs and all that stuff on hold, and I'm going to charge a lot more. I'm going to charge my worth. I'm going to attract way better clients, and I have amazing clients now. And they've all been amazing. I loved all my first clients,
Okay.
but the ones I'm working with now are they fit more into my ideal client profile in terms of the type of business that they have, because I was just kind of like working with anyone at the beginning. So now I'm just very specific about what kind of type of business they have. And so that was a big game changer for me, is just to stop trying to do all that other stuff and just focus on, having as many conversations as possible with ideal clients, enroll them into my high-end program, and boom, you get to 6 figures that way. And so that's a mistake I see happening a lot out there, is it's like a bright shiny object syndrome where everyone else is launching and everyone else is doing a group program. And unless you're really well, unless you have someone really that's like holding your hand to make that happen, which I even did have someone holding my hand, and it still flopped. And it's not that person's fault. It just wasn't. I just wasn't ready for that then.
Right. That is a big undertaking. Well, thank you for opening up and sharing that story. And it was a good lesson. You
Oh yeah,
included a good lesson for us there, too. So thank you for that.
you are welcome.
Well, what I want to do now, Jessica, is go to the other end of the spectrum and have you tell us a story about the time in your journey when you had that aha moment, when you became aware of the path that you wanted to travel. And you've alluded to it, but maybe you have a little story that will take us to the moment when that light bulb really did go off and tell us the steps that you took to turn it into success.
That is a great, great question. I'm going to tell you the story that came to mind, if that's okay. It's not
Absolutely.
necessarily
Sure.
it's not probably exactly what you're asking, but I promise you it'll be beneficial.
All right.
um, because I think that, I mean, I've known that I want to help people for a really long time. So it's hard for me to pinpoint the light bulb moment on that. Um, I've, I think I've been that person that, I mean, I remember when I was 18, I had this epiphany that I was meant to be a healer.
Oh,
And although I don't call myself a healer or practice healing in the general sense, I happen to work with lots of healers, and I attract a lot of people with a lot of spiritual gifts. And I think in my own way that I'm doing my healing work. But so that's a little bit of a light bulb for sure. Just recognizing that, and then not really. I mean, I at that time I thought I was going to be a healer in like the hands-on, energy
okay.
healing
Right.
sense. And although I had some skills with that, it wasn't something that I, ended up pursuing a lot. But the other story that really came to mind, it really goes with some of the other stories I shared, is that in my first business, the tutoring franchise, I had this goal that I wanted to make $25,000 in a month, and I'd never done it before, and I'd had the business for a few years, and I had a plan, and I focused, and I did it, and so it was the end of that month, and I was like 26,500. I surpassed
Right.
my goal. I was just like over the moon. And I called my husband, who was my boyfriend. And I'm like, oh my God, I did it. And there's still a couple days of the month left. And he's like, good job, And I was sitting in my car in our driveway and talking to him. I think he was at work or something. And I, within about a minute, I was just a puddle of tears, just
Oh,
completely crying. And this goes back to the Wayne Dyer quote. At that time, I didn't know why I was crying. I didn't know why I was sad. But a year later, I got certified as a money breakthrough coach, and that's when I recognized what was going on. My money set point was way high up here, and what I believed about myself and my self worth was, I mean, my money set point was actually, yes, my money set point was up here, but what I believed about myself was down here. So when I bumped up against that set point, all of the low self worth and the lack of self esteem, all of that stuff just came forward. And so again, it took me a year to figure out why I had just totally fallen apart. And also, it took me a year to even get my income back up. I sabotaged, my income went
oh,
down, and it was all because that amount of money, that 25 or 26,500, it did not match what I believed about myself. So I treated it like a fluke, like
I
like I
see.
got lucky. But in
Right.
fact, I mean, I did all this marketing, I did all these sales calls, I honed my sales skills, I focused on selling bigger programs. I mean, there's a reason why I got to that number.
Right.
Very specific things I did and a specific strategy that I followed, and I just didn't believe that I was worth it. I didn't It was like a one-shot deal. I didn't believe that I was the woman that could make that amount every single month. And so that was a really big aha for me to recognize what my own money set point was and what I really believed about myself. So I know that's not what you asked, but
Oh,
it
that's
just came
perfect.
to me and it seemed like I should just tell that story. So
How did you change your mindset?
Really, it was working on my emotional relationship with money. So, 80% of money management is emotional. And so I didn't have a big issue with making money per se, but holding on to it was another problem. I didn't save. I couldn't save to save my life from age 20 to age 30. And I just envy people that were saving all the way through their 20s.
Oh,
my
right.
my son is like an amazing saver, and he's a teenager. So it was just something that I wasn't capable of doing for the longest time. And then I made up all these beliefs about, how I was horrible and everything for not being able to do it. And I think it's always a work in progress because, limiting beliefs and our belief systems it's an evolution, right? It's something you're always working on. But I made some real strides by looking at my money story, what I programmed with as a kid, what I was told, and I had to start reconciling some of those beliefs that were stopping me from being able to do the right things, do things that were actually going to serve me in the long run. So yeah, I mean, I think because here's the thing: from age 20 to age 30, I met with probably 10 different financial planners, hired them, did what they said, and then I would like not do what they said. And
Okay.
then I would like hire another one. And I read all the books. I watched Susie Orman on the
Oh,
TV all the time.
yes.
It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't that, I mean, I was trying, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? I was like really working on it. Like, this is air quotes, right? I was working on it.
Right.
But in reality, I wasn't working on it. I badly I wanted to want it. I wanted to want it. In reality, I wasn't ready to change. And once I was ready to change and I started working on my emotional relationship with money, because money is just a mirror. It's just a mirror for your level of self-esteem and self-worth. So it wasn't so much the work I did on money, it was the work I did on myself, which allowed me to transform the relationship with money. And the same goes for food. I had an eating disorder when I was younger. Something that it was the same thing. I thought, oh, I'm never going to get rid of this. And it was the same thing with money. I'm never going to be better with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more we work on our relationship with ourselves, that's when our behaviors on the outside change,
Right.
right? So yeah, that's my best advice really for someone that's struggling with that, is to get someone to help you work on the emotional piece. Because I had money coaches, and I'm not going to blame it on them because I think I wasn't ready. But also, you need to get with someone or a program that's going to help you with the emotional piece. You don't need someone to show you how to make a budget. I'm
Right.
sorry, not no offense to anyone that teaches that, but it's deeper than that, because you
Yes.
can just Google that on the internet, how to make a budget,
Right.
So
Yeah, that was a very good description of how you overcame because you just, again, you looked at yourself and you learned what your problem was with money and how to overcome it. So you don't easily overcome things like that because they're ingrained. Somehow or other they get ingrained, but you've done it. So good
yeah.
for you.
Well, especially a problem that you've had, the thing that I mentioned with money, with food. I mean, those were problems that were 10, 15 years where I was actively trying to, quote unquote, fix
Right,
myself in regards to those things.
right.
And so I guess for anyone listening, it's like something you've been struggling with your whole life or for a really long time. You can change it. You
Mm-hmm.
can, and I was at the point where I was like, this will never change, but
Okay.
it can.
Right. Well, again, thank you for sharing that. Jessica, I'm going to ask you to bring us to the present time and to share your proudest entrepreneurial moment.
Oh gosh. That is definitely a difficult one, but I do have a great story about that.
Okay.
So last year, 2015, I did something really, really cool. It wasn't like, I made the most money or anything like that. It wasn't my biggest financial success in any way. It was something that it was one of those moments where I went for it, right? So last year I was mentoring with Gina DeVee, who I love. She's amazing. And so I went around the world. I went to Australia and
Oh my
Paris and
goodness.
Miami, and every event was like in a different, country. At the beginning of the year, my daughter was still breastfeeding, and it was a challenge at times to just leave your little baby and your kids and everything. And so I did that, and I had a photo shoot in Paris and a photo shoot in Australia, and that was all really cool. But what was really really neat was one of the intentions I had set when I made a decision just a couple of years ago that I wanted to attract clients online, because all of my clients were coming from, local events and
Right.
speaking and things. I made the decision I wanted to attract clients online, and I made the decision I wanted to have international clients, which I have a
Wow.
ton of now. I mean, a lot of my clients are international. So I had made that decision, and I actually had a client in Australia and a client in London. And so when I went to Paris, I said, okay, I'm going to create an event. I'm going to have an event in Paris,
Oh
right?
my
and,
goodness.
and like, granted, I have a small list. It's not like I have all, thousands and thousands of people on my list, and like, I'm like this known person, right? But I made the decision. I got some support. I had a coach that introduced me to someone else. And I mean, everything fell in place. And I ended up doing a very small workshop for about 10 people. And it was a money breakthrough workshop. It was 3 hours, and I taught my money breakthrough curriculum, which I'm licensed to teach that. And so I got to teach some of those modules that are just awesome. And we had about 8 Parisian, French speaking coaches. And
Wow.
we had one of my clients who's a coach from London. She took the train over to Paris. Another coach that's from the United States that I knew. And so it was just like this incredible thing where I'm in this gorgeous little classroom overlooking this beautiful street, and there's like this courtyard across where kids are playing, and I'm just like in the most gorgeous
Oh,
workshop space. Beforehand, I went to the market and bought flowers, and
oh my
and then
goodness.
afterwards we all went to lunch together at this little cafe, and it was just like, oh my gosh, I'm doing it. Like, I just led a workshop in Paris. Like, oh my God, it was one of those things where it was like, I really went for it. And, there was people that helped me, which I'll be forever grateful for. But it's kind of one of those things where God bless the internet. Like, it's amazing, what you can happen. We're just really blessed to live in this time when you can connect with people from all over the world through
Yes.
the internet. And that's really how that event came together. And so my next dream is I really want to go to Dubai.
Oh
And
my,
and I
yes.
I don't want to just go there as a vacation. Like, I want to be paid. I want to like, I want to do a workshop or something, right?
Good for
So
you.
um I like to find ways that I can, do my work in different places. And it's just about like making your dreams come true, And that was, like I said, it wasn't like an event where I like made money or whatever. It was just the fact that I did it. I charged for the event, but it wasn't it's just a very small workshop. And so just doing it, just setting an intention and doing it is, to me, a huge huge success. It's, forget about the money. It's making one of your dreams come true.
That is really, you really did paint a picture for us when you described the classroom and looking out the window and then going to lunch at the cafe afterwards. And sometimes maybe we've never had a picture like that painted for us.
I could have never imagined. I think even just telling you this story now, I almost need to just take a moment and really reflect on that, because it was such a whirlwind traveling last year. But I mean, prior to last year, I had only been to Mexico and Canada. I
Uh
had
huh.
never been to Europe, not Australia. I mean, I'd never been anywhere. I mean, Mexico and Canada, that's cool. That's good. But I mean, from all the way till age 35, I never went anywhere. I was just being the single mom and, doing all that whole thing. I wasn't I miss the whole traveling boat, you know. But I love it. I mean, it's something I love, and I just didn't give myself permission to do it.
Right. Well, I bet you're going to be going to Dubai, and you're going to have to let us know when that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's going to happen. I've been manifesting and working on that for a while. So,
Good for you. Well, would you tell us one other thing that is really exciting you in your business right now?
oh gosh, yeah, so I've created the Permission to Charge Academy, which is just an incredible, incredible program. And my husband is now part of my business. He is, his title is the sales therapist.
I
So he,
like
he
it.
actually taught me all of my sales skills. He was my sales coach. So he is our sales therapist and success mindset coach. And so now we get to work together. We're actually going to California in a few days for a mastermind. And that's just been really, really incredible. We're both home all day, every day with our 2-year-old. My son had a meeting at his school today. It was me, my husband, my daughter. It's, at 2:30 in the afternoon. A lot of people can't do that. They
Yeah,
can't
how
take off
wonderful.
work. Our academy it's just been incredible. The results people are getting. The people in the program are coaches and consultants and specific type of service-based business owners who are very much like me, how I was. They have an expertise. They want they've either been charging by the hour, or they just know they're not charging enough, and they just have a passion for what they do. And they also have a passion for, they want to make six figures. They want to be paid really well for what they do, and they're committed to that. And so we're just seeing incredible results where, every day I get to wake up to like success stories, right? Someone saying, I just enrolled someone into my, 90-day program, or I
Oh,
just enrolled
gosh.
someone into my VIP intensive. And like, that's what really makes me get up in the morning, is seeing other, coaches and consultants like having the success that they want, and,
Right.
and like they're shifting their mindset, and they're putting themselves at the level of a woman or a man. I work with a lot of women, but they're saying like, I'm the woman that makes six figures plus, and they're creating that for themselves. They're choosing it for themselves. They're creating it for themselves. They're doing the work. They're doing what we teach them. So that's been the coolest thing, is to we started the academy just recently, and just watching people just grow so quickly is just amazing.
That really does have to be exciting. Good for you. And those people are just going to keep growing and growing now that you've got them on the path, aren't they?
Absolutely. I hope they do. I mean, that's my plan. So anyone that sticks with me is that's the train that we're on.
All right.
So we just keep
Well,
going
keep
forward.
going. Well, Jessica, what's the best business advice that you've ever received?
Well, the best, again, another tough one, right? But I'm going to say what's coming to my mind, which is something I like to say all the time, which is to stay in your own lane. And
Hmm?
what that means is stay in your zone of genius. Do
Okay.
not try to be all things to all people. You can't, you won't, you'll fail. Stay in your zone of genius, delegate the rest, and delete the other stuff that doesn't matter. Honestly, that's the best way to give yourself permission to charge, right? I mean, that's experts get paid the most. And so if you want to be an expert, you have to stay in your own lane, stay in your zone of genius. Don't try to be all things to all people.
Okay, that very sound advice. That's very good. Well, what is the vision of the future of your business?
The vision of our business is really to serve, thousands and thousands of people every year. The academy allows us to, scale the business and really serve more people, and actually get them better results than, say, a home study. And I have several home study programs, but with the academy we're like in the trenches with people, so they're getting the best of both worlds. They're getting one-on-one coaching, even though they're not in a private coaching program.
I see.
But they're also getting the training that they need. And so, this business it's going towards $1 million a year. We'll take the next step after that, but we're focused on getting there. And with what we're doing now, it's more than possible. So that's what's exciting, is Like I said, it's getting to the $1 million mark, but also being able to see that the clients are actually getting better results with the new model that we're doing. That to me is exciting, because what keeps me up at night is thinking about my clients. I want to make
Right.
sure they're getting results, and it's not acceptable to me if they're not. So it's really, that's something that it's not a switch I can easily turn off.
Sure.
So I just care about that a lot.
Well, thank you for that, and congratulations. That really is exciting that you are on such an awesome path, and the help that you're giving to all of the people that are in your academy. That is wonderful. Well, would you share now one of your personal habits that you strongly believe contributes to your success?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I feel like everyone says this, but everyone should do it, right? So,
Yes.
in the morning, I do visualize, I journal. I don't always do all of these things all the time, but I always do one thing. On a perfect day, I'm meditating, journaling, saying affirmations. But if you don't have time for all of those things, just do one. Most days I will always journal. Most days I will always state my intention and my goal, repeating that, like what it is that you are, the success that you want, and down to the specifics, like this month I want to enroll 10 clients into my XYZ program, or
Okay.
that specific,
Right.
and stating it in a affirmative way, like you've already done it. So I do that a lot. I definitely visualize. I see my current visualization is my daughter and I are walking down the beach. I'm wearing a bikini because I've gotten in more in shape than I am currently at this moment. So I'm walking down the beach. I'm holding my daughter's hand. We're in our bathing suits, and then we sit down, and like my husband's doing some work thing, and then he joins us for breakfast. Like I've got the whole story,
Oh,
right?
that's
Like I've got
great.
down to the detail of exactly the whole story. And so, that's something, when you visualize exactly the lifestyle you want, you can taste it, you can feel it, you can see it, you can smell it. Like that's something that currently I've been really committed to doing and have been doing. So yeah, I think that's a brilliant habit, and I'm already seeing the results of doing that. It affects it sets you up for the day, really.
Right. And that is a brilliant habit. So good for you for doing that. And thank you for sharing that with us, too, because it sounds delightful for you to be heading to the beach. And you'll be in shape by
Absolutely.
the time it's time for that bikini.
Yes, I will be. I'm working on it.
Jessica, do you have an internet resource to share with our listeners which helps your efficiency, like Evernote or an app? And storytellers, you will find the links to these sites in the show notes of today's episode at bizstorieshared.com. Jessica Riverson.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. I do love Evernote, since you mentioned that one. So you're talking about like a business tool that I use, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so the business tool that I use a lot is Lead Pages. And
Okay,
leadpages.net is something that I use to offer a free gift to my clients that are prospective clients, where they can download something, and I
right.
can give them a piece of content, and they get onto my list, and then they start getting all the wonderful strategies that I share and inspiration that I share. So that is a great tool for people that are like, how do I build my list, right? Lead Pages is really perfect for that. And I kind of think everyone should have it if you want to attract clients online. Otherwise, there's ClickFunnels, which is another one. But you got to have one of those, and then most importantly, you have to use it.
Yes,
So
use it. Yeah.
sometimes we buy those things, and then we're like, what was I supposed to do with that? So yeah, you gotta buy it, and you gotta use it.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And then would you describe for us who are perfect referrals for your business? And by that I mean business associates or clients that the listeners know who would benefit from doing business with you.
Right. What I would say is to think about a business owner that you know who is probably a coach, a consultant, a healer, kind of alternative type of healing business, psychotherapist, someone who has a one on one service based business, and who's just all heart. And yet they have a vision of success for themselves. They're really good at what they do. And you've probably told them, honey, you're not charging enough. You're worth so much. It's that friend of yours, that
Yes.
business colleague of yours that you're like, gosh, you're so good at what you do. And yet you hear that they're struggling and that, they're not progressing in the business in the way that they want. So, I look for people that are go-getters, not someone that's willing to stay stagnant for 10 years. That's not the person, but it's the person who's really good at what they do. They really care about helping people. And they're also a go-getter. They recognize, gosh, I do have some money stuff. I do need to charge my worth. I'm just kind of stuck. I don't really know how to price myself. I don't know how to get that courage and confidence. I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
to express my value to my marketplace in a way that I feel good about and they feel good about. And I don't really like to sell myself, but I'm willing to learn. Those are the people that do really, really well in working with me. So, all of those challenges, but also paired with the mindset of wanting to do better and willing to do better, because there are sometimes people who it doesn't matter what you tell them, they're like, I'm not changing my ways,
Right.
so I'm definitely looking for people that they're just like I was, like they
Mm-hmm.
just have that burning desire. They've got the challenges that I mentioned, but they have that burning desire and they want to do big things in their life.
All right. Those are very good examples. Thank you. And would you recommend just one book to our listeners, a business book? What would that be?
I really love The Big Leap by
Mm.
Gay Hendrick. And he talks a lot about the glass ceiling, especially the money glass ceiling or the income glass ceiling. He talks a lot about self-sabotage. It's a really important book. In fact, I used to, mail it to every single one of my private clients. So it's very important. And by the way, if you want to know all of my favorite books on my website, I have a money mindset bookstore, and
Great.
all the books I recommend, you just, jessicariverson.com. I think it's /book dash store. And
Okay.
there's all my favorite books right there.
All right. All right. Well,
including there's, gosh, what is this other book that I just recommended? Well, you guys can check it out. There's a lot of good books there.
thank you for that. Well, Jessica, I understand that you have a free gift for the listeners who are
I
struggling with charging what they are worth. Would you please tell us what they need to do to receive this gift?
Absolutely. So if you're struggling to charge your worth, then head on over to www.raiseyourrateschallenge.com, raiseyourrateschallenge.com, and you're going to get 5 days of very, very content rich training. It's
Oh,
going to
wow.
come, yeah, I'm saying it's really good because I know I put so much into this. You get every single day for 5 days. You're going to get an email from me that teaches you about value-based pricing versus cost-based pricing. It's going to address your money mindset. And by day 5, it's going to challenge you to go ahead and put your prices up.
Wow.
So, but I gently lead you there. We don't start on day one, go jack your prices up. No, I'm going to train you first. I'm going to teach you first, and then by the end of it, you will be empowered to raise your rates with confidence. There's even a script on what to say to existing clients. If you're going to raise your rates, you're probably going, "Oh my God, what am I going to tell my clients?" So I even give you a script of exactly what to
My
say.
goodness.
It's a great training and challenge, and I highly recommend it. So raiseyourrateschallenge.com.
Well, thank you for that. That's very generous of you.
You are welcome.
We're going to go raise our rates.
Woohoo! Permission to charge. Yeah.
Great. Well, Jessica, I have truly enjoyed visiting with you and listening to your journey and the stories that you shared. So, will you please tell us one more time how we can get in touch with you and any other resources that you want us to have? And then we'll say goodbye.
Absolutely. So if you guys want to connect with me, jessicariverson.com is my website, my main website. If you want to speak to me personally, if you're like, hey, I need to talk to this lady because I need some I need to get some help, you can go to permissiontocharge.com. Actually, no, let me give you guys our new link. You can go to, yeah, I'll send you there, permissiontocharge.com. You guys can sign up for a consult with me and see how I can help you out. And then, of course, the raiseyourrateschallenge.com. And then if you are a woman coach, female entrepreneur or coach, and you're on Facebook, we have a group called the Permission to Charge Community for Women Entrepreneurs. And we've got almost 800. We're coming up on 800 women entrepreneurs in that group now. And that's a great place to hang out to get support. And I give a lot of good stuff in that group. So sorry guys, it's for women, but I do want to invite the women into that group. So
Well, thank you for that invitation too. And that's very generous of you just to let people come into your group where you're sharing all sorts of information. Thank you. Thank you for that. That's why you're so successful, because you've got such a generous heart.
oh, you're so sweet. Thank you.
And again, I want to say thank you for being so generous with your time, expertise, and experiences. Okay, listeners, you can find links to this resource and everything that we've been chatting about in today's episode by going to bizstorieshared.com/Jessica Riverson. Thank you so much again, Jessica, and goodbye for now.
Bye.
Give the storyteller some love. Go to bizstorieshared.com, click on the iTunes button, and give a 5-star review. Thanks.